Hey guys, so we are going to be working on our user interface in the next kind of couple of videos. I'll try to do this all within 2 videos or so. And the first one, at least the first screen that I want to make, is the game over screen. So just as a reminder, we were able to build some functionality to reduce the player score when they're hit by this AI. And then we have a couple things we need to fix, right? One is the sensing is, not working until we move out and back in. But this functionality is working where when we're hit by the, collide with the enemy, we lose our score. But if we just keep colliding with him, nothing happens. And so what we want to happen is when there's no more hearts remaining, or when the last heart is gone, we want to show a game over screen. And so let's start on that. So if we go to our interfaces folder, right now we just have our heads up display. And we want to make a new display, a new widget, and this will be for the game over screen. So if you right click, user interfaces, widget blueprint, W underscore game over. All right, and then open that up. So what do we want to have here? I'm going to do a fairly simple game over screen, but I definitely want to I just don't want to say game over, it's over. And I want to give them some other options, to retry and to go back to the main menu. Those are the 2 basic things that I think we need. So if we go ahead and start with, do we want to start with a border? I think we do. Let's start with a border. This way we have some opportunity to make it, different colors and whatnot. And first thing we can do is anchor, and then hold down Shift and Control and click this last one here that kind of makes it very wide. And then for brush color, let's make that black. And then alpha we can kind of make maybe 0.25 so that it's like clearly a overlay here to the screen. The next thing I'd like to add is a vertical box. So underneath the border, let's add a vertical box, and then in that vertical box we want to have 2 buttons. Wait, we want 3 things. So the first thing we want is, actually let's just, let's just do this on the fly. So we want 3 things. We definitely want a text box. And then we're going to want I normally just drag all the things I know that I'm going to need in, and then we can deal with the positioning later. And then we want to have a button, and that button would be main menu retry. And then in the button we need some text, so we can have a text inside of that button. And then we want another button, and that button is going to have some text as well. Great. And we don't want it to, right, and then let's say our text here, let's center it. It's going to be called, let's just game over. So sad. Padding, maybe we add a little bit of padding to the bottom of this. We can do it with the button. And I don't want it to fill the whole screen here. So for this vertical box, I'm going to go ahead and just place it vertically center, and this is the horizontal and vertical alignment, make it in the absolute center, right? Just because it looks better to me. And then this button, we should give some padding to the top of like 10 pixels. Same thing with this guy's 10 pixels at padding at the top. That color is terrible, so let's just choose a color that we like. Color and opacity. Background color. Yes. Cool. We picked that same one. Remember in the last maybe 2 videos ago I showed you how to add a color to your theme. So that's what I'm doing here. So let's add that one, and then this one the same thing as a background color. Cool. Text block, we can say retry. No question mark. It's retry. And then this one we'll do main menu. and then And game over we can make maybe a little bit larger. 48. No, whatever. We just keep it. We can just keep it that size, which I think is just fine. Okay. So what else do we want to do here? Well, we can let's just get it displaying on the screen when it's all over. Sorry, when we lose the game. So we need a way to handle this, right? So what I'm doing now is I open my player controller because I know that's where I'm putting our heads-up display. We haven't been in here in a while, and all we're really doing is event begin play. We create this user widget that's our heads-up display, and we add that to the viewport. So we're going to want to do a similar thing when it's game over, right? So I think the best thing to do in this case is to create a custom event. So I'm in my player controller. I'm going to type custom event, add custom event, and I'm going to name it game over. Okay. And that game over event, we will call it at such time as, like, we'll call it when the last overlap happens, meaning we're basically going to go back into our get hurt function, and we're going to look to see what the player score is, and if the result of getting hurt is 0, then we're going to say it's game over, and we'll call this function, and this function is going to do something similar. We're going to create widget, and I don't necessarily have to like store it as a variable like we did here. I was just to show you could. I think I know it's just game over, so I choose the game over widget, and I'm going to add it to our viewport. And there's going to be some problems with this, but let's just start by recreating what we have here. I can do self too. It's not going to matter. Okay, great. And now we don't need baddest dude. We actually need to go to our player character, and then we're already in our get hurt function. And instead of printing string, we need to get hurt, but we won't be able to, game over, sorry. We won't be able to call that until we cast to the appropriate actor. And so the actor that we want so it's in our player controller, which we have player character. So what we want to do is, well, we know we need to cast, and we don't want to do it right here when we're decreasing the health, because we want to do it before we decrease the health. And we actually want to branch here. And the branch should be looking at player health and making sure that it, so if it equals 1, if it's less than or equal to 0, as a result of this, you know what, we can do this. So I'm trying to think ahead. I mean, what I was going to do will work, but I actually would like to say, let's let it go to 0 from this, if it happens to be 0. So we can actually now then do a less than or equals. And if that's less than or equal to 0, then we can branch off, right? Because we're still going to run it. This will still run, right? And so this evaluating to true is then we want it's game over time, right? So if it's going to be true, then sorry. Right. So what I want to do is, we know we're going to cast to BP player controller. And when we cast, we definitely know we want do our game over, right? So, and then we'll pass in that. So that's what we want, and then the question is, what is our object? Well, it's a player controller, right? Of course. Okay. And I'll only put that there, and and compile it. Okay. And then if it's false, I mean, then we'll do nothing there. Although if it's false, I think this is a good place probably to do something later. Maybe like respawn the player or something. But for now, this is what we need. And you don't need to have a branch here. We could just check. We could basically do a check as equal to 0, and then if true, oh wait, that's the same thing. So forget what I just said. Okay, so with this done, then if it's 0, we should call game over, and then by calling game over function, that's going to create this widget. It's going to add it to our viewport. We made our widget. It's going to look like this. It looks super rad. Now if we play this, we have 3 health, 3 hearts. Now we have 2. I'm just going to run into him. Now we have 1, and yes, now we have nothing. And it's game over, but I can still move around. It's like, yeah. All it did was add it to the viewport. So let's do a couple of extra things now to make it really game over. So at least so that we have that done. So the first thing I want to do is, I think, like, well, let's just play this again and just make a list of bad things. The good thing was it's showing, right? And then I'm running it again. Game over. Bad things. I can't move my mouse. I can't see my mouse. I can still move around. And I don't like that. So that's those 2 things. Let's fix those. And so we're doing this here in the game over event, add to viewport. Okay. I think there's something called set mouse cursor. Set enable mouse over event, set enable touch, enable kit. No, not yet. Oops. It's show mouse cursor. Show mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor. Okay. True. Okay, let's see. Then I'm going to play this. Should really put my, okay. So I have a feeling we're going to be doing this a lot. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to go to my player state. I'm going to set my player health to 1 and compile. And then I'm also going to just put my player right here and turn him facing that. I'm also going to take this thing and move it away, and that's just setting me up to be able to test things. Ouch. Okay, now this is great. I can see my cursor now. So I'm able to see it, and I mouse over and I see that these are buttons that I can click, hopefully, but nothing happens, but I can click them, but I can still move, right? So not good. So what do I want to do? Let's go here. Set mouse cursor. There's another function. It's called game paused. So set game paused, and then you can select that as true. And now if we play this, now I cannot move. It's basically pause the game. And we're getting some input here. That's awesome, actually. One thing I'm gonna do now, this is just if you want this. I definitely think my hovered style is no good. So I'm gonna go to this hovered, oh, that's lightning, and choose color and opacity. Right, so under hovered, color, opacity, I'm gonna change this to, that's actually for the text. Hovered, tint, color, opacity, background color. That's just still for text. I want the background color to actually be changed as a result of that. Tint, no, it's not tint. Pressed, hovered. Yeah, that's style. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where I can put this in a place where it makes sense. Tint. Let's see if that works. I just made it black. Okay, play, game over. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Just because I like it better than like that. It's clearer, it's easier to see, like the fact that I'm actually hovered over it. That just was difficult for me. So I'll do the same thing here. So just to let you know, I have the button selected, and then there are these different styles, like normal, hovered, pressed, disabled. Hovered, I wanted to make the tint black. Choose that and save. Now play. Okay. Although, you know what I'm noticing, and it's probably not obvious to you guys, is when I mouse over, like this time, nothing's happening. But when I click, then I'm able to do that. So that's also not, it's a minor thing, but it's kind of annoying. In order to like get focus, I have to click, and then it's like, oh, you're now focusing that. So the final thing I'm gonna do here is, so I'm setting the, let's also say handle our game over screen. Display game over screen. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do now is set, I think it's called set input mode. Yes. Set input mode UI only. And then it's gonna want a player controller. It may just use this player controller. Widget to focus. So okay. Let's do it. Let's make ourselves a game over widget too. So remember, I was like, oh, you don't need to do it. Yeah, we do, especially if you want to make it extremely professional. And in our case, why not spend the extra time? So right click on class, promote to variable. Let's name this one game over. W widget, I think we already have something. So W game over menu. Okay, so we've gone ahead and done that, and then we can get this one here, and we can compile because we need to set this to game over, which it will do because we already had it selected there, but just to make sure. And then that's the widget. Oh wait, sorry, what here? Widget, promote to variable. No, that's not what we want. Widget to focus. Game over menu. No, we already have one named that. So game over man. Let's see if this even, how we could even select that. No. Not good. That's not what we want. Set input mode UI widget to focus is a widget object reference. That's the class, right? So we actually want to get an object from that. So let's do this. I figured it out. Okay. Let's just go like this way, right? Directly in. So we can just like So as an aside, I don't think we ever need to even store a reference to the class here. Like I'm deleting that. So if you're like, well, I wish you could go back in time and change it. This doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm gonna delete that too. So we just keep things clean. What is it asking? Must have a class specified. Oh, yeah. Game over. So we have those two classes here, and then compile it. Okay, so what this will do, and we may as well get the player controller here too, so we can make everything nice and not make the assumption that it's going to assign this for us. So what this should do is just tell it that now we're doing UI input only, and it should bring the mouse into focus. That's that in widget to focus. So if I play, done. Yes, perfect. So now I don't need to click on anything. It's essentially putting my mouse as the, so it's making this widget the focus of the input mode, and then I can, do what I want to do. click on these things. Okay, great. So in the next video, what we're going to do is, I think I want to implement this. I want to implement this menu, which means I want the retry button to just respawn us. And then I want to implement a main menu. And in the main menu, we're going to have the things you would expect to have in a main menu. Things like play, like a play button, and an options button that can, set the, some of the options for the game, and a quit button that lets us quit. And actually, I feel like, retry main menu, we could also add a quit button here too, if you really feel like that's what you want to do. Great. Okay.